Hello, this is Joe Sonona, and this is Coffee Talk, and this is special segments with my good friend and guest speaker this week, Eric Martinez. Hello, Eric. How are you?
How we doing, Joe? What's going on?
Great, great. So, special segments, as the audience probably knows or doesn't know, is a way of keeping everybody in balance, in check, and bringing special guests to come and talk about a specific subject. And this week, we have Eric Martinez talking about not just what he does on a regular basis of full time of training people, but how to train people in the real estate business on fitness, which is something that I know nothing of because I'm not in good shape. And I'm sure that other realtors out there are not in good shape. We had my other good friend on the program talking about nutrition for realtors on the go. Now we have my other good friend talking about fitness on the go for realtors and giving some tips and tricks on how to stay fit, especially for realtors who don't work out and who don't love to work out. So welcome to the show again, Eric. And tell us a little bit about yourself to start. How did you get involved in all this?
So, I've always played sports growing up when I was a younger boy. Um, and then when I got kind of to high school, I met somebody, and he had like an outdoor fitness thing, and I actually joined that for about 2 3 years, and then they actually opened up a gym. So we trained outside. It was just mainly body weight. He had like almost 40 50 people in there, so it's very hard to bring out all the equipment on those because it's a big crowd. So it's a lot to do. So mainly it was a lot of body weight, a lot of running, just using your own body to make fitness. That's all it is. You don't need anything to really work out. You could always do the basics, which is what I was brought up on, which is the push ups, the pull ups, the core exercises, running, and stuff like that. You don't really need equipment. It's not necessary to become fit. Because if you think about it, everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I'm very into like science and back in the day type thing. We used to be hunters and gatherers. That was mainly where we originated from, gathering and hunting. So even when you were a hunter, you didn't have a gym, you didn't work out, but these guys used to run and hunt for 16 hours a day or more and come home with just one piece of meat to feed a whole village. So it's kind of like we were bred to do this. It's just the world that we live in now. It's different. You walk down the block, you could just buy a steak for $6 and come home and cook it. You don't got to hunt. So that's why a lot of us, I believe, got out of shape. And throughout the generations, it's not nice to say, but we've gotten lazy. So
Lazy fat.
we've gotten lazy and fat.
Lazy and fat.
Yeah, so that's what I believe. And a lot of my clients, a lot of my outdoor classes, I do have equipment. I do give equipment in my classes. I use everything that I have in my car. I'm like a portable walking gym, basically. I have classes on the weekdays, on the weekends. I teach in gyms all over the place. Um, but back to get on track for how I got into it. So, like I said, I met up with someone. He introduced me into it, and I was just hooked. It was also my release from all my stress. A lot of people that I know that go to the gym, they use it as a stress relief. You'll see either, like here, good for you. If your wife ever gets mad at you, just get her 6 sessions with a trainer that boxes and let her go punch the bag. I guarantee you, she's gonna come home feeling like $1 million, right? So it's for me, it was a stress relief. That's mainly what helped me. And to jump forward a really long time from when I was in high school, I am now 27. In the beginning of COVID, I was about to get back into the best shape that I used to be in because I kind of went into college and I let myself go a little bit in a sense where I wasn't really training the way I used to train. I wasn't eating the way I was used to be eating. It's funny now. Maybe I got to hire you a nutritionist. Um, yeah, so I actually tore my bicep um, at the beach working out, and that was one of the biggest adversities I had to face in terms of like fitness and health because it kind of attacked my mental space in a sense where 6 months, 3 months in, I got the surgery, and then it was about 9 months, I think now, about 9 months. It'll be August, I think it'll be a year, or maybe next month it'll be an official
What
year.
what was the injury? I missed it.
The
Did you
bicep tear.
the bicep, right?
Yeah, at the elbow. So it was right at the elbow, the distal elbow. It just tore right up the bone. Um, you could feel that instant. You can't tell it's coming. I don't care. I'm personally the one that got an injury. I've actually torn a muscle. So people that have actually torn it can tell you cannot tell when it's going to happen, because when you train, you're always kind of under pressure. You just don't know that maybe that one moment your body is dehydrated. You are sleep deficient. It could be anything. I mean, I think I had a beer at the beach too. When you're at the beach, you're relaxing, you have
Well, what
food.
did you do? How much weight did you lift? Did you lift something?
So in the morning prior, I had taught a class, I had clients, so I was carrying things all day, moving weights around, carrying equipment. I didn't sleep very well. I was training extremely hard because I told you I was getting back into shape because, colleges went online. So I had all this time. I wasn't working and I was just teaching clients and stuff like that. So I had so much time to get back into fitness. And I was just pushing myself and pushing myself. And it was supposed to be my off day, but I worked out after all my clients in like 90-degree weather. Barely ate breakfast. I went to the beach with my now fiance and her family. So we were relaxing, and I felt good. And whenever I go to Coney Island, it's kind of my home base. They have the workout area on the sand. I love
Oh, I
it.
see. Okay.
Over there, I started working out, and I started to do my movements, and I just put too much pressure on my bicep, I guess, and it gave out. It just snapped. You could literally. I've had folks that were a couple feet away that like turned around, like they thought that someone like slammed on the floor from a plane or something.
Wow.
That's
Oh
how
my goodness.
it was really loud. It sounded like a thick rubber band snapping, and smacking a wall like in an empty room. So it echoed. It was crazy. But I knew right away what happened. I've never experienced an injury, but like I just knew it just was off. I knew it, and then I went to the hospital immediately. Um, they had they had me test it where you take your two fingers and you dig into your armpit or whatever you call that, and you would have to feel for the tendon to be attached, and I couldn't find it. And then the doctor came in, he couldn't find it. So he said that they can't say, but he's like, it's a possible full fix. And the only way to fix that is through surgery. So I had to go through the surgery. Um, that was a process. I couldn't do anything. They wanted to put me on medication. After the surgery, I took medication. I was like drooling on the couch because I have never taken it before. So it hit me like a rock. And I told them,
Okay, move over a little bit because your sound is going out.
I was like,
There you
I
go.
told Bella, I was like, just throw the pills in the toilet and flush them. I was like, I don't want to take.
Wait, those are the pain pills. We missed that part because it was mute.
I did not take the pain meds. I didn't.
Good
take
for you.
I was in pain for it, but it's just something that I didn't really want to ingest into my body because I just know the side effects of pills.
Sure.
And yeah, so I didn't take that, and then you start here with a full cast. It's heavy as hell. I actually hurt my neck, so now I have a little bit of a disc issue here from being 8 months leaning this way.
Right.
So now I have all these injuries. I'm going to the gym again and I'm working out, and I'm like, wow, my neck is sore, my spine is sore. I'm like, what happened? So because of that bicep tear, it kind of had more damage on my body than it did on my bicep.
It's giving you a reminder, right? With
Yeah.
other stuff that now you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And I do know a lot of, not just yourself, but I know a lot of realtors who've had one injury, and realtor friends of mine that have had one injury and now they have other injuries as a result of that one injury. Is that crazy? That's absolutely crazy.
So if our left shoulder hurts, we're going to push more with our other side. And what that does is it puts all the stress on one side.
Yeah.
And then there it goes. You do that for 3-4 months. You're going to wake up and you're going to feel like you got hit by a car. It's crazy. But one thing that I can actually say that I did get out of this, it took me a while to get out of like a depression phase, not being able to do what I've always done, having to work out at a slower pace, is I actually walked into a gym on the first time that I was able to do it mentally. I walked in, I had like maybe a 3-minute workout and I just walked out. I felt so like shamed, right? And you're saying like, why would you feel shame? Like, but it made me learn how other people feel when they're first either starting at the gym, coming off an injury, being overweight and walking into the gym and seeing someone that's 200 pounds of pure muscle worth lifting 400 pounds, that gave me a really big perspective, because on my clients, I'm always like, come on, it's easy. And I'm just trying to motivate them, but now I can understand why for other people it's so difficult when you get to a certain point and it's just like, you know what, I give up. Like, I'm never going to get fit. I'm never going to get, strong. So I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, a lot of let's say my depression with working out has always been watching, these guys at the gym going, and he's like screaming his brains out, and he's got these big, huge muscles. He's got the well-defined chest, and I'm sitting there and going, that's not me. That's not me. I can't do that shit. Yeah, except I can't do that, But what I can do is I can probably take, what do they call those, bands, and use the bands to define a little bit of muscle, because that's a wimpy way of working out. I get it, but that's what works for me, right?
Yeah, of course.
So what could work very simplified for someone like me, who is your average guy, who's the average realtor, I'm on the go, and I don't want to lose this mass that I have here in the arms and the legs as I get older, because, and I don't want any flab to come back either,
Yeah, of course. And I have a lot of people that actually train at their job. I actually have one client that I train her in her place of business because she actually makes wedding dresses. So she has a whole studio. So it's just her. She doesn't have any people there. It's just her. So on the time, I go there and train her literally in her place of business. And I'll soon be doing Zoom with her too, because she's either going on vacation or busy. And that just gives an example. Like, you don't really need too much. Do you need equipment? No. Will it help and benefit you? Yeah. Who doesn't have $30 to buy resistant bands, and a couple other things that you can get on Amazon in 3 days that can ship out, and it'll cost you $30, and you can get.
What other suggestions besides the bands do you have?
You can get a whole dumbbell set. Everyone that's a real estate agent, I know you guys all drive. And I know you guys have at least a little bit of cubic space in your trunk that could fit 2 pairs of dumbbells that weigh.
How many pounds?
5-8 pounds. You don't need a lot of.
And what do? You walk around with them?
No, you work out with them. You would do a HIIT routine. So
like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you could do regular stuff, but you just intensify it. So and what matters the most too is it's always, for me, it's always the muscle and the mind connection. A lot of people that train, that do a bicep curl, for instance, as an example, they won't even train their bicep, and you could see them do 30 curls. They're not connected. If you're not focused, like if you're working at your job and you have a client and you bring them into a house, and the first thing that it's the light that shines, right? You don't mention the light. You're not focused on that. You're talking about your day. You're really off topic. You're not focused. You think that they're gonna want that? How do you think that you're doing a good job? You're not, right? So it's the same thing in the gym. If you're not focused on what you're doing, and you could ask all my clients, I yell at them when I see them starting.
Oh, I know you do. I heard you yell at them.
It's your time. I always say that. It's my famous line. It's your time. Don't waste it, right? Focus on you. Everything else shuts off for the hour. Everything is you. You have to stay focused, right? So if you're doing a workout, you need to actually focus that your work. Yes, I'm actually doing a shoulder press. I need to focus on my shoulders. I'm not just pushing weight up. I'm pushing weight with my shoulder, not technically my hand, right? I know it sounds a little.
No, you're 100% right. And I'll tell you, the 2 weeks ago, was it? Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I was at an open house. I started the open house. I had the tenant downstairs. The tenant locked the door, thinking I had the key. So I said, "Oh shoot!" I said, "I don't have the key." No, the key I had went in and didn't turn because somebody changed the locks. So I called up the tenant. He says, "I can't come back. I'm on the LIRR. We're going to the city." So I'm like, "Well, what do I do?" So I had to revert back to an old way that I used to do when I was just starting in the business, looking for a way in, whether it's interior. I opened the window. The window was unlocked. And I said, okay, there's my fall. I have to go through this window. You know, and I did this at 19 years old, and I'm thinking back to 19 years old when I was a little bit in better shape, and I'm going, okay, Joe, use your stuff. Now, if you know, I used to work out with my arms, so I have, you know, look, I have muscle mass a little bit. I'm strong. I'm stronger than what I think I am. Right? I went in face first with my arms this way, shoved my entire body, and let my arms, and I landed on my arms. And I couldn't have done that had I not been stronger to do it. So
Okay.
I do work out with the resistant bands too. And
Okay.
I'm like, and I and I caught myself going back like this, and I looked up at the window, and I looked up and I said, "Damn, Joe, you're so good at 52 years old. You still got it." I impressed myself, but that would have never happened had I not had the confidence, like you said, mentally, right, to do something, and knowing that I had, you know, the strength in my arms to land on my arms.
I agree.
Isn't that crazy? I just connected with you that way, you know?
A lot of it's mental too. You know, you ever see these crazy stories where someone is under a car? You know, I know it's a terrible thing to think about, but someone gets hit by a car and they're underneath the car, and you see 12 people run over, and they'll lift that car.
They lift the car, and you don't even know where that strength comes from.
You get adrenaline. It's and like you see, people think I'm crazy. We used to be hunters and gatherers, right? Our bodies are meant to put out more than we think we can, because once that adrenaline pumps, we become stronger. I think we are all superhuman. You know, it just depends on how we use it. You know, people, when you get scared, you know, you run faster, you think faster, right? You start sweating, you start getting energy. Our bodies are always trying to protect us of anything that's harmful towards us, right?
So do you think it's mind over matter? Why, especially in my business, why realtors don't work out more, or maybe some realtors work out more so than others because it's all up here?
Absolutely. Fitness has always been big, but I feel like as of recent, it's been huge. You know, you walk into any borough in New York and like you'll see like a million gyms everywhere. Pilates, yoga, you know, spin, soul cycle, classes, you know, weightlifting gyms, training gyms. Like you can't escape it. It's everywhere now. And, you know, people are starting to realize,
how has it been now with, you know, like in a little pre-post COVID world? How is the gym industry, you know, with people working out more at home? How is the gym industry now as opposed to when it was pre-COVID?
So I think that a lot of people got comfortable being home. I think a lot of people like to train at home now. But for me, see, there's always people that want different things. So I could be a guy that's been lifting in the gym for 10 years, and I built a whole gym in my house, and now I can save money and work out and do everything in my house that I can do over there. But there could be that guy, but then there could be the guy doing the same thing that's like, you know what? Yeah, I don't have people in my house working out, lifting, slamming. It goes back to the guy that you were talking about, the guy that's grunting, lifting heavy weight, yelling, slamming weights. You know, someone that with you, that's just noise. That's just, you know, it's annoying for you. But for a guy that's also on his level, that's like, he could look over and be like, you know what, damn, I gotta push. Why am I not doing this extra set? You know, that guy over there's killing himself, and I'm over here complaining, and I did half the work he did. So it's the gym. But I think that's why a lot of people are enjoying the classes, because classes, and like I said, I grew up on that. You know, I've done that. I've done it now for 10 years, classes. I've been in them. I'm teaching them. You know, it's just different energy. You know, you could laugh with someone. You read on energy. You know, I'll give you a quick example.
So in a group setting, there's a collective energy that will drive. Let's say if I was in a group setting, those people would motivate me more than me working out by myself and hearing that person grunting and screaming and yelling his brains out, you know, lifting weights.
I have people yelling and whining in my class, you know, when it's rough. But
do they feed off of each other where they motivate one another? And when they see results, individual results, do they applaud one another? Like, you know, like I remember when I used to go to Weight Watchers and be like, "Oh, you lost a pound!" Ah!
Yeah. it's especially bigger with women. Men, not so much. Men don't.
Right.
Men will just be like, "Oh, you look great," you know. Women are
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you
Men are
lost weight on
macho.
your own.
Yeah.
You know, your shirt's looser." You know, so it kind of all depends. You know, and back to the thing I was trying to explain to you that I had an example about energy in the classes, right? It's very important. I had this one lady in my class once. She's a great person, but I'm very tough. And if I feel that you're affecting the energy in the class, I'm going to remove you. You
Oh
know,
boy.
so she kept talking and texting and walking around in the stations. You know, if I had you doing battle ropes, jumping jacks, push ups, and pull ups, and you guys are in a circle and it's a circuit, so you're rotating, you know, in an allotted time, and you're just texting, laughing, you're in a different headspace. Everyone's
Right. Right.
in the same space and you're out of the space, but you're in it. You ever take a test and have somebody, I know it's a knife, but you ever take a test and someone's like this on the desk and
Yeah,
it's
with the
annoying?
pencil.
And the other 20 kids are quiet, focused,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that,
Sure.
that guy with the pen, right? It's a distraction. So I'm very, very strict. And I asked her multiple times to put the phone away. You know, you're distracting the class. And I got to the point where I told her, like, listen, you need to go. Because you can't, for me, I'm very, very serious about this. And I'm serious about
Yeah.
people's time and money. And it's just the same thing as real estate, right? You show
Sure.
5 apartments or 5 houses or five, you know,
Whatever.
whatever
Right.
you're doing, you know, it's important. It's their time. It's your time.
Yeah, you get into
You
this
want to let
groove, and and a wrench
have fun.
throws in there. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, you want to have fun. You want to talk, you know, a little about life. But when it comes down to business, you have to take care of business. You know, it's your time. It's your money.
Right.
I'm very strict on that. You know, especially if you're paying me. You know, as a trainer, we do. You know, our prices are
I
sometimes
think the more people pay, the more serious they will become about who they want to be and what they want to look like and what they want to feel like. I think when you make it so affordable for me, I remember I had a gym membership, and I think I was paying like I think it was $49 a month or something like that, or $30 a month. I didn't go every day. I was like, you know what? I don't feel like working out. It didn't
for the guy.
motivate me. But
That's
when
what
I hired my nutritionist at $2,500, I showed up every single time she had a session with me. I did the work she gave me, and she guaranteed that I would be diabetic free. And I did the work because that was my $2,500. I took it more serious than that $30 gym membership.
100%.
Right?
No, that, and I agree with you 100%. You know, I have a lot of clients that, you know, I tell them, and you know, as a business person, a lot of people wouldn't be like, hey, listen, it's 700, you know, it's a lot, or it's 800, or it's 900, or it's 2,500, you know, you know, make sure you're ready before you make this, because this is like an agreement. This is for you. This is for your life, you know. It's the same thing, you know. My mom used to say, I used to be like, I'm sick, but I don't want to go spend $200 to go see a doctor because I don't have insurance.
Right, exactly. Penny wise is a penny
Dollars.
foolish.
She's like, you don't have $200 for your life. She goes, that's your life. It's not like buying a pair of shoes. You don't need it. It's not a necessity. You know, if you
Mhm.
have a heart problem, you got to spend $1 million to fix a heart problem. You're gonna die.
Right.
No, there's no way around it. You know, so that's how I view fitness. You know, for me, I have a lot of clients. I've had clients that, you know, have trained once a week and then have come back in 3 weeks. And I tell them, I was like, listen, you just wasted your entire time. That first session was pointless. You could wipe it because now you're at day one. There's no way anybody can start training for 1 week and stop and see results and come back in 3 weeks. This thing has to be like the air you breathe. It has to be daily. You have to. It's not just going to the gym. You know, you hear the corny quote: "You can't go to the gym and get abs." Right? You can, but it also comes to you when you come home. You can't order McDonald's. You can't eat out. You
Oh,
can't
sure. It comes with a
eat
price. You have to
without
sacrifice.
water. Of course, and a
Yeah.
lot of people say, "Oh, you know, well, this fitness guy goes out and has a steak every night with his friends." Well, when you get to that certain level and your body is adjusted and you know your metabolism is where it's at, because remember, everything changes. If you start becoming fit and you start lifting heavy and like that, your body's gonna be like, "Oh man, this I'm under large amounts of loads of weight. I'm training really hard. I'm tired." It's gonna make you eat more because it needs more energy. But if you put bad energy into your body, your workouts are gonna suck. Your
Right.
body's gonna suck. You're gonna feel shitty. You're not gonna sleep well. It all adds up. You know, when I wake up and I had 9 hours of sleep, and I wake up and I have my coffee, my water, and my breakfast, and then I go out to my day. I feel like $1,000,000. If I
Somebody
wake
asked
up
me
in the
the other
morning,
day. Somebody asked me the other day was they said, "Oh," I said I lost about 16 pounds already, right? And I said, "Yeah, I lost about 16 pounds already." Well, how'd you do it? And I said, "Well, I cut out this. I only have 2 meals a day. I walk 10,000 steps." And I was going through my whole routine, and I had them like interested maybe for about 10 seconds, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, oh." Because I could tell that they weren't going to do what I'm doing.
100%.
But if your workout routine is how many times a week? How many times a day do you work out? Well, besides the work, you personally.
Oh yeah, don't even tell me about besides the work, because if
Well,
I
I'm saying
if
when
I
you're working,
well,
you're
I'm saying
working out, right?
I teach a class, it's 60 minutes. I'm showing exercises, I'm yelling.
60?
60 minutes.
Okay.
Warm up, we work out, we warm up, we stretch after. And if any other trainer tells you that it's not worth it to stretch at the end of your workout and to get more of a workout and stretch at home, nobody stretches at home. I force people to stretch after my workouts. They don't want to do it. And you
Okay.
know what? I had one woman complain and complain and complain, do it very half-assed. A couple months later, after a whole summer of her training with me, her flexibility got better, her mobility. She felt better. She had less pain in her lower back. She had less pain in her joints. She was in her 40s. And she just started to work out. She lost over 20 pounds over the summer with me. That's just 2 months, 20 pounds like that. Nothing.
Wow.
That's no diet. That's no diet. And that's just her training with me like 5 times a week. Just, and whatever she was doing and whatever she was doing. But, and she learned. It's important. It's
So,
very
how
important.
many times a week do you train for yourself? Because you have to maintain
So,
a
yeah,
certain physique to help people, right?
yeah.
If they see somebody who's out of shape and in pain, and totally, maybe fatter,
Yeah. Oh,
they're
I
not
do.
going to gain inspiration from you.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely don't look how I used to look, but I definitely have almost the same physique. I think I'm about 3 to 4 months away from getting back to where I was, to be honest. Maybe not as big
Before
because
the
yeah,
accident, right?
with my bicep, because I trained my arm on Wednesday. I did upper body, and my right bicep is absolutely ready to go, ready to rock. My left, it needs more time because it's my tendon is very
Well, it's only been what, 10 months, you said?
yeah, 10 months.
Yeah,
So
that's,
time
yeah.
to heal. My bicep doesn't technically get sore. The tendon will get sore because I always have to remember that it's stitched into my bone now, so it's on a constant pressure. And every time I work out, I'm taking the pressure off, and then once I stretch that tendon, it's not used to it.
Be
This is
careful.
this is natural. Yeah, of course, but this is natural, so it's loose and it's going. This one is it's sutured into my bone, so it's always going to have a slight pull. That's what
Like,
I don't know about the science, but I can feel it. When I work out, when I pick something up, I can feel the pressure. Yes, it's going to
all right,
go
so we
away.
talked about upper body. Now let's
Yeah,
talk about lower body, legs.
yeah.
What
So,
is a good exercise that I can do for my legs
oh,
besides
I
biking,
I can tell
besides
you,
walking? Walking?
walking is not walking's more. Listen, walking is more good for the heart. Your
Okay.
cardiovascular system. It's good for your lungs. It's good, but it's not really going to bring you to a point where you're going to find change in your body. You can, it will, you will burn calories. I'll tell you right now, you can lift weights and burn 500. You can walk and burn 500. You can swim and burn 500. 500 calories burned is 500 calories burned. It doesn't matter how you do it, right? So it goes back to what you're asking. So if you're, oh, I have a brain fart.
Legs.
Legs,
We're
yes.
talking about legs.
So it goes back to what we're talking about, right? With the legs. You can bike ride, right? I tell this to my clients all the time. So I have this woman, she likes to run, right? So she jogs. I say, you can't jog for a workout. You can, don't get me wrong. But if you're training and you want to get that high endurance in, when you jog, I tell her, take 30 seconds, do this 20 times. Jog for 30 seconds without stopping, and then sprint for 10 seconds. Give it everything you have and just sprint, and then don't stop. Go back to your jog. You have to put your heart rate in an area that's comfortable and healthy for your age and your fitness level, right? Your health level, it always plays a role. If I have a heart injury, but your heart is fine, and we're both 40 or 30, I have to do something that's a little bit less than you because I can hurt myself. I have to watch my heart.
Right.
But if you're an average person and you're super healthy, you need to have that heart rate up. Your heart rate can't stay low. You won't burn as much fat as the person that's working up. So in my classes, I have something that I do, which is 20 on, 20 off. So I'll have them do a sprint for 20 seconds, and then I'll have you literally maybe just do push-ups for 20 seconds, something that you can catch your breath with, something that's going to not make you exert so much energy, because I want your heart rate to be pushed, and then I want it to come back down, go back up, come back down. So what that causes, it causes a whole chemical reaction in your body. It confuses you. You know, your body's like, holy crap, I'm on a huge load. I need oxygen. You know, your blood starts going faster. Everything starts to work faster. And that's how you build your metabolism. That's how your body starts to change. You need to force change on your body. When you start running, your bodies are like, I'm in pain. Stop running. I don't want to do this.
I don't think my body talks to me. I think my mind talks to me more than my body.
You know, so it's like the mind was like, why are you doing this? This is painful. This is causing us
Yeah, my mind talks to me like out of everything when it comes to working out. And I'm trying to keep it real for the audience because everyone knows what I'm talking about. It's like, skip the workout, eat the hamburger and French fries, and do that. And it's constantly it's mind screwing you. That your mind screws with you big time. And food, between the food that we eat and the exercises that we don't do, right? Or the things that I think we kind of compromise a lot with ourselves, skip it today. Don't worry about tomorrow. No one's looking over your shoulders, but it does catch up with you. It caught up with me many a times. I told somebody today, I struggle with weight loss. I struggle with the fact that I don't go to the gym or I exercise the way I should be exercising as a 52-year-old male. But as a real estate agent, sitting in a car, driving around and then getting out of the car. And I've seen real estate agents get out of cars and they're like, oh, the pain, and their joints, or even the realtors that show houses, and while they're inside the house, they won't go up that attic anymore. They won't go down that basement anymore because they go, my legs, I have a bad knee. I hear it. I have a bad knee, my legs, my arthritis. And I know it's because they didn't take good care of themselves at a younger age,
Yeah. But hey, listen, I know people that are 60 years old that are overweight and in bad shape that get into the greatest shape of their lives and they feel amazing at like 60.
Thank you for saying that, because that's an inspiration right there.
I never put an age on it. I'll never forget. I was like 16. I started working out at the classes I told you, and I went to Coney Island to work out with a friend of mine because they had the workout area on the sand. So I went to go work out, and there was this guy. I'm like. And he walks over to the bar. He looks like he's literally like 75, 80 years old. Like he could barely walk like straight. And he starts doing pull-ups. He starts doing ab exercises. He starts squatting. He starts doing like a light jumping jack. And I'm like, who is this guy? And I asked him, and he was Russian, so it was hard to communicate with him. But he told me he was 89 years old.
89, wow.
89 years old, still doing pull-ups, still hanging off the bar. And had a great physique. He was in great shape. He was skinny. He had a little fat on his body, but he was in great shape. Look at him moving around. You see people that are his age that can't walk anymore.
I saw this guy here on the boardwalk, and he was running, and he looked older, right? I don't know how old he was, but just that alone, I was riding my bike. I'll never forget it. It was about 2 summers ago before COVID began. And I said, if he can do this every morning and he can get up there with that drive and ambition, there's no excuse, for me not to do it. So He inspired me that entire summer to go bike riding. I was doing 6 miles back and forth on that boardwalk, and from here to the boardwalk and back. And, then what happened to me is the same thing happened to you. I tore this strain this muscle here in my leg. I haven't been back on a bike, but it hasn't stopped me from eating good and it hasn't stopped me from walking. And that's why I asked you about the walking, because that's an exercise for me that I can get into. And I did not like it at first, and I hated it. You hear me, audience? I hated it. I still do. I still want to get on the thing that I love the most, which is the bike. But we are out of time, but I could talk to you all day long, Eric, really. And I want to have you back on special segments for some tips and tricks on how realtors can stay fit with their bodies. And maybe we'll have you and Jesse Rosenthal together, as a trio, and we can do a panel.
Yeah, of course. That'd be great.
But any last minute advice, any last minute parting words?
Yeah, as a real estate agent, don't be embarrassed to pull your car over and start working out outside your car. You got to do what you got to do.
There you go. And on that note,
be the weirdo.
Be a weirdo.
Yeah. Do it.
That's good sound advice. On that note, this is Joe Sonona with another exciting episode of Special Segments Coffee Talk, Sonona Speaks Seminars. My guest has been my good friend, in full disclosure, Eric Martinez, who I've asked to come on the show and show what he does, and he did, and we're going to invite him back with my other good friend, Jesse Rosenthal, soon. Stay tuned for that episode and many more. This has been great, Eric. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.